Hi, I am Astrid, I am Wattle and Wool, and welcome to my YouTube knitting podcast where I talk about lots of things knitting and life. Before I get started, I would like to pay my respects to the traditional owners on the land on which I stand, the Whadjuk Noongar people, and pay my respects to their elders past, present, and emerging. This is... I don't know where I'm going with that. Let's get into what I'm doing now. First up, what I'm wearing, because it is awesome. This is a top that says, "I honour and respect the first people that walked this land." It is a top which is designed by a mother and daughter duo called Miimi and Jiinda. I will put everything down below. This was an impulse Instagram purchase, but I'm so happy that I did. I absolutely love it. The only bad thing I'm going to say about it, two things, but this is not really anything that is their problem. The first thing is it came a little bit late. I did want it to come a week earlier so I could wear it for NAIDOC Week, which is a week of reconciliation and acknowledgement of our Indigenous peoples in Australia. But that's not their fault, that's Australia Post. And the second one is that it is white and I am a child. I'm an absolute child and I will spill something on this. So I'm trying to see it very carefully so that I can't get it dirty, but it's only a matter of time. So I have quite a bit to show you, a lot of pictures that I'm going to have to remember to put up. So editing me, remember this. And a bit of a story a couple of stories to tell you actually. Please excuse me if I randomly have to cut this out a little bit. I am trying to get over a cold, which always happens in school holidays for me. Just like that. So please, I apologize for all the cuts and the jumps, but you don't want to hear my sneeze. So first of all, I am knitting on my Meet Me in Italy cowl. This is the companion cowl to a scarf that I designed 2 years ago. It is brioche. This one is 2-color brioche in the round. The other one is just knit flat. This is, I'm going to say, really easy. And the reason I say that is because I taught myself how to brioche while designing this. So I have talked about this like 2 years ago. I was doing a brioche workshop and I probably had like 3 lessons of brioche workshop and it was some increasing and decreasing, and then after that I was like, yeah, I can do it myself, thanks, bye, and then just designed Meet Me in Italy. So I love this one. It is using Stitchcraft and Wizardry colours by Anna. The background colour is, I want to say Nashville. It's a beautiful navy. And the 3 colours, I'm onto the second colour, and then I've got a third, which is a purple. That is a custom fade for my friend Beth, that Anna dyed for me 2 years ago, something like that. So it's very special to me. And it also is a great stash buster. So I'm really enjoying getting this finished. Okay, I have been everywhere, man. I've been everywhere. I went, actually not really at all, but it's fun to say. I went to Brisbane and Victoria. I would say Melbourne, but not quite, just Melbourne. And I had an amazing time. There was so much that happened and a couple of things that I knit along the way. So I will tell you the story of Astrid's terrible planning of travels and the amazing people who help Astrid to travel better, and my knitting. I think that's the title of this episode. Astrid can't travel and people help her. So, I was in the middle... Okay. Last year, I was dating someone called Alec. He's a beautiful person. It didn't work out, but that's okay. We planned on going to Tasmania together. And then COVID hit and we couldn't because we got locked out of it and our G2G passes weren't accepted and all of that stuff. So we had to cancel that plan and then change and do something else, which was amazing and we had a lot of fun. But there was like $750 of flight credits that he couldn't cash in because they were in my name. So I got to play with them, and I booked flights to go visit a beautiful friend called Kim, who I used to work with. She now works in Ararat, 2 hours out of Melbourne. And then I just decided to go see family who are in Brisbane as well. So I was really excited for this whole trip. I thought it would be amazing. The problem is I also decided that I was going to do all of this while just peak everything else. So peak uni test, peak reporting and marking, peak getting kids to do their stuff, peak parent-teacher interview planning, like peak everything. And I just kind of did not take enough initiative. I think this is the theme of today. I didn't take enough initiative, and this is definitely my fault. I also reached out to my beautiful cousin and was like, hey, I'm coming over. Can you organize a few things? She was like, yeah, but she's also got a lot of life going on and didn't quite get to the organizing stage of organizing things. So between the two of us, didn't really do a great job. But that's okay. Next time we'll work on it. Sorry, there's like, I can see outside my house and there's lots of cars going by and it's very weird. Normally I am at work on a Friday. It is Friday the 15th of July. It is my last Friday of school holidays. Normally I would be at work right now. I would be at lunch, probably knitting as well, and planning to walk into my lovely but a little bit crazy year 8 class. So it's very weird seeing people around. So I'm so sorry if I get distracted. Okay, so I told my friend Kim, I was like, hey gorgeous, I'm gonna come over. I really want to see you. I miss you. Like I love her. I look up to her. She is incredible. Even people who have never met her, because she left at work halfway through last year, people who either haven't met her properly or like haven't worked with her or don't even know her at all, they, from me, have got such a good opinion of her because I just talk her up because she is incredible. So I was so excited to go and see her, and we had originally planned that I would catch like the train. Excuse me. We had originally planned that I would catch the train to her, and she came up. She drove 2 hours-ish to come pick me up. Sorry, I'm tinking back in Brioche while I talk to you. This is not always the smartest plan. There we go. She drove in 2 hours to come pick me up, which was just so generous. And yeah, so I went back, had a great time with her. I knit her, actually I crocheted her a little bag. So I didn't take too many like videos or footage or anything. I really tried to just be in the moment as I was on my travels. A lot of what I have taken, I've posted up to my Instagram, which is at @wattle_and_wool. So you can see some of the views, some of the pictures, but I didn't really take too many. I just really wanted to be there. I hope that makes sense. So I was crocheting a bag. It was the Mushroom Fairy House bag by Savannah Pelletier. Pelletier? I always say that wrong. And I started it the day before I flew out to go see her. So this bag, hopefully editing me puts up pictures. This bag, it was meant to be with double crochet, and I don't know what that is, or I didn't when I started. So I just started with single crochet because I know that one. It's meant to be with the magic loop, or whatever you call it. It's like an invisible loop. I've done it before. I've done it in really weird yarn, and so I know I can do it, but for some reason this time I could not figure it out. I tried and tried and tried, and I just got so irritated. I gave up, and I just cast on. I just did like a slip knot and then cast on in the slip knot and then pulled the slip knot closed. It worked out perfectly. No one knows the difference. So that was my cheat. And then I did single crochet instead of double crochet. A few things on that. Number one, it's a tighter, smaller stitch. So, of course, the base of the bag is much smaller than it would have been if it was double crochet. So I had to do a lot more single crochet to be able to make the base work. But it was also, because it's tighter, it's nicer for the bottom of a bag. It makes me feel less like something's going to slip out or like holes are going to be created in that. So I'm really happy with the bag. I did single crochet at the base, and then I Googled how to do double crochet because I didn't know, and I switched to double crochet and started doing that for the sides. That took me probably 2 or 3 days, pretty much exclusively crocheting. It was hectic. It was quite a lot. I was also doing it in front of them, and at one point Josh, Kim's partner, was like, "Oh, what are you making?" And I was like, "It's a bag for you." And he kind of looks at this like misshapen mess, and he was like, "Cool, okay." It did not look anything appealing, but I continued working at it and it got better. So I basically just did the half double, not half double, just double. I did the double crochet until I did not want to crochet anymore. I was tired. I don't crochet fast. I don't find it comfortable. I find knitting much more comfortable. I do not find, I wouldn't reach for crochet. I really like the finished look of it. And I love that I've got this new skill that I can now do, but it's not my natural go-to talent. So I did the sides of the bag. I tried to make them so that it could fold into 3, so that the side of the bag was the same diameter or length as the base. Yeah. So that the length of the side was the diameter of the base. That's it. So it's a bit of a little short and stout bag, but I like it. It works. For the strap, I did some single crochet chain, and I was lying in bed because it was 12 o'clock and 8 degrees, I think. I was very cold. It was not, it was not super warm, so I didn't want to get out of bed, stand up and test the size of the bag. So I just kind of plunked it on my hip, put it around the back of my arm, brought it over and was like, yeah, that'll do. And then did I fastened it to the other side and then did single crochets back just to stabilize it. And that worked. That was fine. It's a good length. Thinking back, I probably would have done another handle on the other side, so that instead of the handle being on the half, it's on the quarter. Just because the bag's a little bit floppy and it needs more stability. Yeah, but apart from that, I was pretty happy with it. It was my first proper crocheted gift to someone, and I don't like giving gifts unless I think they're of a good quality, and I was happy to give that as a gift. So it was awesome. I finished the base of the bag. I never, not never, but I did not want to keep crocheting at all. So I took a little break, started knitting something just so I could get a break, because my hand, it was just like this. And it felt tight. Like I had to hold at this angle. I don't even know. Obviously I'm not doing it right. And I would have to constantly drop it, push my arm out, stretch out, roll my wrist, and then start again. I also felt my shoulders tensing up, and I think this is because I felt a time pressure because I knew I had to give it to them before I left, and B, I felt like the intensity of doing it, and I just had to get it done because self-imposed deadline. But yeah, I didn't, my body didn't enjoy crocheting as much as I would knitting. I think that's where I'm at. So after I did the base of the bag, I started on the top of the bag. I again just did a slip knot and crocheted into that instead of trying to do whatever else because I couldn't figure it out. And I followed the pattern instructions for increasing. So there's a certain amount, like you do a row of increases and a row of just around, and a row of increases and a row of around. And I followed that structure, like the direction structure. at the very end, so I kept doing it until it was big enough to cover the base. At the last, I think, 2 rows, I just did double crochet with increases, and it made this really cute like ruffle. And so the top of the mushroom is ruffled, and it is so adorable. I love it. It's like my favorite feature, which is not meant to be on there, but it is so cute. The bag is meant to be a drawstring bag, so I was meant to crochet like a thing and then pull it tight. I didn't, because the sides of the bag were not very big, and because I was really over crocheted by that point. So I quickly finished it, snipped all the ends, sewed everything in, and gifted it to them on the last day. And their beautiful cat, Alan, he approved. He is the only cat I've ever met who actively snores, by the way. Like, this cat snores. But he approved of the mushroom bag. I really wanted it to be something that they could use. It is machine washable, but it is 100% wool. It's a little bit rustic. I wouldn't recommend like wearing it. It's a bag, so as in like next to your skin, but you know what I mean. It's a bag. It's fine. But I did say to Kim, maybe grab a bowl and just put it inside, because the fabric just isn't as strong and like sturdy. I think if I'd done it with a smaller hook, I used the recommended hook size, which I think was a 4. I think it was a 4. So I used the recommended hook size, but I think if I'd gone smaller, it would have been more sturdy, but my body would have probably hated crocheting it more. So I'm happy with it. Is the end of the story. So that was the stay. Oh, what was my? There we go. That was the stay in Ararat, and well, actually a little bit further out of Ararat. And my gift to Kim and Josh, and they seem to like it or appreciate it at least, which is the point. And yeah, so then I had planned to catch the train into Melbourne City and hang out with one of my friends who I work with. So, yeah, that was the plan. We got to the Vic Rail depot thing, and it turns out that the rail was down, and so instead I had to catch a bus, and I get very car sick, so I was not looking forward to the bus. As I've previously pointed out with the white shirt, I am a child. I am such a child. I am a child. And unfortunately, I had drunk most of a large coffee, and I took the coffee on with me thinking I would finish it, and then realised I was going to get car sick if I kept drinking it, so then I stopped drinking it and put it down next to me. Managed halfway through the trip to knock it over and pour coffee all over the floor, so the bus driver probably hated me, and I just felt so embarrassed. I also, at one point, he like pulled over at a random stop, and I was like, I need to go to the toilet, you need to wait for me. And he was like, we leave in 3 minutes. And I was like, I will run. So I was very fast. Let's put it that way. I did not miss the bus. But oh my goodness, I think if I'd been another 2 minutes late, he would have just been like, nah, we're not waiting for this girl, chuck her stuff off. Like, he would not have cared. Which I feel bad about, because I am a child, and yeah, I feel really guilty just making such a mess of coffee. It was fine, but still, I made a mess, and I didn't like that I did that. So on the way into Melbourne, I was knitting on a Petit souffle for my nieces. I bought, so my cousins don't knit. They don't really understand knitting, which is totally fine. And they, so that I wanted them to have something that was going to be easy care. So I got acrylic yarn just because it was really pretty. It had a really cool sheen to it. It was very soft. And it was easy to care. Really easy to look after. So I made 2 petite souffles in the acrylic yarn. And I will put up some pictures, and I'll talk about those in a minute as well. So on the way, I was knitting these petite souffles, and then I met my friend Lauren in Southern Cross in Melbourne. And that was awesome. I met her sister as well, who is just a beautiful human. Lauren is a beautiful human, but her sister is really sweet. And yeah, we just really got along. I grilled her for why she wants to be a teacher. I was like, why would you do that? Why? Which is what I do to everyone, because teaching is hard. So, side note. We went to the museum afterwards, after I got there. And that was beautiful. There was a couple of different shows. There was the queer exhibition, all about queer art, and there were some amazing pieces in there. And then there was not contemporary art. It was like art through the decades, but in different places. So there was like Egyptian pottery and Mesopotamic pottery as well, and like all these really interesting things. There was Asian textiles, pretty much spanning all of Asia as well. So it wasn't just like Japanese kimonos. It was actually everywhere. It went up into like Uzbekistan, Tajikistan, that kind of area, all the way into Korea, Indonesia. Like, it was really comprehensive, which I really enjoyed. So I walked around. They did have a contemporary fashion where they were looking at couture and royalty, I believe. And that was awesome as well. I was knitting on this as I walked around. I've got my big Hohi Locatelli bag. I keep calling it a dumpster bag. It's not a dumpster bag, but I can't remember what it's called. And it is such a mess inside because I threw all these yarns in and then didn't really think about it. So now I'm kind of trying to pick out whatever the heck all of this is. So if you see me randomly tugging, I'm very sorry. It's just the yarn. So I was knitting this in the museum, and that was so much fun. I really love creating art, which I believe knitting is, while being immersed in art. So that was a really cool experience. So then that night we, Lauren and Lauren's sister and I went into the city, and we met some beautiful friends. So I met Teresa, who is Knitted by the Sun, who is just so gorgeous, and she's very, how would I describe Teresa? She's very deep and thoughtful, and I think when she speaks, she makes impact. That's kind of how I see her. She's very thoughtful, and I really enjoy talking with her and interacting with her. We've been like online friends for a couple of years now, and it was just so great to see her in person. So I met Teresa of Knitted by the Sun. She and I have been friends for a couple of years now, and she brought me some gifts, which was very unexpected and delightful. So she brought me a personalized book from KKK, which is probably my favorite stationery brand. I'm fairly obsessed with what they do. And then it comes with stickers, which I love stickers. So this one, I think I'm going to leave it as a journal. I've got a couple of other journals that I'm making my way through. So once I finish with those, I'll start with this one. And some ballpoint pens. My cat's here. Some ballpoint pens that match it as well. So I thought they were beautiful. And then she got me a one-of-a-kind skein by Louis and Lola. Isn't this amazing? Such a fun colour. And this is Merino Nylon DK, 80% superwash merino, 20% nylon, 243 meters in 100 grams, and the colorway is sherbet. And it's so much fun. So as soon as she showed it to me, I was like, oh, I was so excited. So that was Teresa. Thank you so much, Teresa. She's just a very good friend. And I'm very pleased to have now met her in real life. And then I'm going to put these behind. There we go. Then I also met Chloe of Woolen Works, and she, again, if you follow Woolen Works, if you don't follow Woolen Works, what are you doing? You're missing out. She is hilarious. But she's exactly the same. Like, she's just so exactly her in every situation, and I love it. From every Zoom chat we've had, from every Instagram DM conversation that we've had, from every reel that she's done, she is so herself and authentic, and I love it. It's so much fun to watch. Not saying that anyone else isn't, but just it really stood out to me how real she is. So she came and she actually had dye on her fingers from where she'd been dyeing up some of my yarns. She tried to get them ready. They weren't quite ready. So next episode, I will have a massive, massive bag of things that I have bought. Because, oh my goodness, I could not resist. If you've seen her recent Bright Birds collection, you need to have a look. It is so much fun. And there was a couple of things that she had and I was just obsessed. So yes, that was my lovely Melbourne catch up. And I just loved it. I had so much fun. I forgot to take photos though, because we were at a Mexican restaurant called Fundas, and we don't have them in WA. And it was really, really, really fun. And really nice. Like, they just had really good food. So I was way too interested in eating, and chatting and getting to know my friends than I was taking photos. So I forgot. Whoops. That night we went, so Lauren and her sister and I caught the tram back to Lauren's friend's house. Her sister went off on her own and Lauren and I went to her friend's, and we stayed the night there. So after dinner, Lauren and I went back to Lauren's friend's house and we stayed the night there. That was really fun. Nina, her friend, has a kitten. He's a little black cat, short hair, and he is a little menace. Like, he's just so crazy. My first cat was a lot like him. My second cat, Mac, is very relaxed and very chilled. But my first cat was psycho and had to be moving, had to be going everywhere all the time with the highest amount of energy at all times. And I love it. I miss it. I miss that energy. And so when Zagreus, the cat, was just jumping everywhere and going everywhere and doing everything, and I was like, yes. And then as we were going to bed, he like comes in to my room, so I was in the spare bed, and just starts checking everything out. So he's in the covers, he's on my head, he's on my shoulder. And I got told he's a shoulder cat. Like, he's going to want to be in your shoulder, he's going to sleep on your shoulder, like that kind of thing. And I'm personally not a big shoulder cat person. I just naturally don't like it. I don't know why, but I don't. I tend to find that I like cats on my lap, and if I'm asleep or whatever and they're sleeping in the same bed, that they're curled up next to my knee. And it's like he knew that. And I don't know, this must be like weird vibes, but Nina was like, come on, and I was like, come on, off you go to mum, kind of thing. And he just starts purring as loudly as he can, sits himself right next to my knee where my cats normally sleep, and he was just like, brrr. Like, I was like, so cute. So that made me really happy, because I was definitely missing my cat by what, day 4? Yeah, definitely missing my cat. The next morning, this is where things get a little bit dicey, because Astrid is a child who can't read, apparently. I had managed to misread, miswrite down, and miscommunicate at all steps when my flight was leaving. For some reason, I thought it left at 1:10. It didn't. It left at 11:10. And I didn't know that. So I got into the airport, and I had like a sinking feeling that I've missed something or that I've forgotten something. And I was like, oh no, something's wrong. So I went and checked, pulled up the itinerary on my phone, and it was 11:28, thinking I got there in time, and the flight left at 11:10. So I was a little bit disappointed in myself, to put it nicely. I've actually done an overnight at Melbourne Airport before. I've done it in 2017. Obviously pre-COVID. And so I just assumed you could do the same thing. Turns out you can't. And yeah, so this wasn't my best moment. I put it on Instagram genuinely more as a joke because, like, I keep saying I'm a child. I would do dumb stuff. I would just be silly. I would make some big mistake. And that's exactly what I managed to do. And it was definitely my fault, and I have no one else to blame. I wish I did, because that would make it so much easier, but I don't. It's only me, only my fault. And so, yeah, so I managed to miss my flight. And I've never missed a flight before, so I didn't really know what to do. Like, I don't know, no one really tells you that. So, the lady at the ticketing desk had a bad day. And I could understand why. There was, like, all these other flights that were being cancelled, and there was so much stuff going on. This is also, Sydney had really bad weather that day, and I think flights were being cancelled if they were going to go through Sydney or go to Sydney. There was a whole lot of stuff. So, yeah, all these flights were being cancelled left, right, and centre. And the lady was just, like, having a bad day. So I walked up to her, and I was like, hey, this is totally my fault. I'm not blaming anyone except myself. I've missed my flight. What do I do? And she was just like, thank you for not blaming me. And I'm like, no, I'm blaming me. What can I do? And she was like, yeah, so the next flight is at 2:10 p.m. Awesome! I can do that. That's fine. Tomorrow. Right. Less awesome. So that was less great. So I wandered my little self off to the cafe because I didn't know what else to do. I also, at that time, I had a lot of cash on me, and, like, I've got savings in my savings account, but the whole point of savings is that you don't spend them. And I'm very good at spending, so I was trying really hard not to. So I had only cash, and I was like, right, well, I'm going to have to make do on cash. Obviously, because of COVID, Victoria has just become a very card-only state and not a cash-only state, so that made it harder for me. I basically made myself a little nest in Hudson's cafe, Hudson's Coffee. Shout out to the girls at Hudson's because they were amazing. And I basically just sat there, chucked up my computer, hotspotted it, and started watching knitting YouTube because that calms me down. And I was knitting on my the Petit souffle for my niece. So that was great. And then I had a coffee and I drank half of it and then managed to spill it all over the floor and break the saucer. And so it just wasn't my day. It was just getting worse and worse. I was joking around that, like, this is my bedroom now, I live here, kind of thing. And so then they were like, it's okay, we'll clean it up. And so, like, moved to another spare room of the house. So I moved over to another place, and I was just feeling very low. And as well, I had messaged Lauren and said, hey, like, this is what happened, what do I do? And she was like, look, I am out, that I've had plans for dinner tonight. She's like, you can come back to where Nina and I are. But kind of, it was very much like, you've got to backtrack all these directions. And I at that point, I was just feeling so overwhelmed. And I'm a fairly resilient person. Like, I'm fairly able to jump into a new situation and just go. Like, pretty good at that. And at this point, I just couldn't. I was really overwhelmed. And I just hit the point of, I'm just going to stay here in the airport and get kicked out, but stay here. Because it's easier. I know where I am. I know what to do. I know what time things are. And it'll be so much easier than going somewhere and then maybe missing it again. Like, I overthought it and got really overwhelmed. Amazingly, the knitting community came through. Because of my post on Instagram, or because of my story on Instagram, people had reached out and checked on me. They were seeing if I was okay. They were saying if they could do anything for me, if they could send me money for a hotel. And at first I was like, no, it'll be fine. I'm going to live here. Ha ha ha, I'm fine. And then I just kind of got to a point where I was like, okay, you're being silly to me. Accept someone's help. And the lovely Cornelia of, I think it's Cornelia's Escapades, she reached out and she was like, hey, I live 20 minutes away. I have a very friendly dog and a very nice husband, and a spare room. Come stay. And I was like, yes, please. yes, please. So I went and I met another knitting friend who I've only ever had like Zoom chats with, and I stayed with her. And I'm so grateful to Cornelia. I really, really, really am. She just, I don't think I would, just the high level of anxiety that was going on, just the high level of like brain freak out, and the fact that she was just so kind and gentle with me and just was like, come on, come in, come to my house, have some dinner. What would you like? I'm so grateful. So she has a beautiful dog called Watson, and he was delightful. He loves kissing people in their face. I don't like dogs kissing my face. So we had a little bit of a difference of opinion. But apart from that, he was absolutely gorgeous. And then she's got 2 cats who she said to me, she's like, you won't really see them. They're not really going to be around. Don't worry too much. And then one of them, the one that she was like, no, she's never going to come out and say hello, came into the bed and was just like pattering around and just kind of like checking things out. And I was like, oh my goodness, like for a cat who apparently is super standoffish, for her to come out and say hello to me, I was so happy. I was definitely missing my cat as well. So I was just like, oh, like the cats know they're reaching out. So that was really like an unexpected bonus. The next morning, I had a lovely coffee that her husband made for me, which was so delightful. And then we went to Unwind Yarn. Yeah, these 2. We went to Unwind Yarn, which is a store on the way to the airport. But it's not easily accessible by transport, so you kind of had to like drive. And I walked in and it was so beautiful, like just stunning. And yeah, so I walked in, I was just like, oh my goodness, I need to be able to find something here because these are absolutely gorgeous. And I knew as well that I wanted to get buttons for my niece's Petit Souffles, because the part of the Petit Souffle, there's a keyhole at the back, like a neck, and you attach it with a button. So I was looking for some buttons and I found 2. I found purple and pink ones that matched the acrylic yarn pretty well. And so after I got those buttons, I then started walking around and was just touching everything and trying to think of what's going to come home with me. And I saw these 2 and they had to come home with me. So this one here, they are both the like house dyed yarn. Excuse me. They're both house dyed yarn. So like it just says Unwind. And so I'm guessing it's like dyed for the yarn store. And yes, so they are both hand dyed 4-ply, 100% merino, 100 grams and 365 meters. And you can wash them, which is cool. So this one here is terracotta, which is that perfect grey, clay, pink, not grey, clay, pink, orange, rust kind of joy. And this one is desert rose. There were other ones that I struggled not to buy, but I kept just putting them together and thinking, what am I going to walk home with? And I figured these 2 were complementary but not the same. And so I figured they would be a good, I could use them in the same project or different projects and they would still do well. So these are from Unwind, and they are beautiful. So Cornelia showed me around a little bit, and yeah, we had a wonderful time and I made it back to the airport on time and didn't miss my flight the second time. I also, very, very, very luckily, did not have to pay for a second flight. It simply got transferred over, which I was so grateful for. So even though Astrid doesn't plan was the theme, Astrid is saved and looked after by everyone else was definitely also a theme. Okay, so that was Melbourne and Victoria. Then I got to Brisbane and my uncle picked me up. And that was lovely of him. Again, he went out of his way to come pick me up, and I was so grateful. He took me to my cousin's house where I was staying. Her name's Nat, and she's got a daughter called Willow, who is just the cutest and happiest little girl. Willow is almost 3. She's not quite talking properly yet. So she says words, but she's not quite doing it. But even in the time that I was there, I think maybe 5 days, the growth that I could see in her and just like how much more comfortable she was with me, reaching for me, having cuddles, like she's just such a beautiful girl. And I was so, so proud of having her in my family because she's just awesome and she's very gentle. So Nat has a dog and then her boyfriend has a dog as well. So there's 2 dogs in the house. And Willow is very used to patting them and they are like Shar-Peis, Ronnies, like big dogs. So, she pats them like, patting kind of like this. We went next door, we were looking after the cats and there's a kitten so there was an older cat called Lilo and a younger one called Stitch. Amazing. They're tuxedo cats, so black with like little white markings, and Stitch has one big long white eyebrow, so it was adorable. And Willow was trying to pat Stitch, and I was like, come on, you've got to be gentle, like soft hands, gentle hands, and she just couldn't quite figure it out. And then I was patting him and I was showing her how to pat him, and so she just comes up and just pats him, and it was very gentle and very soft, but right on the bum. And his poor cat was like just freaking out because he's got this like 2.5-year-old just like patting him. I just found it so funny. I don't know if this is funny to you. Maybe it's just funny to me, but I found it hilarious. So that was quite an adventure. And then I was working on the Petit Souffles the whole time. I also met another one of my cousins. I already knew him. So another one of my cousins and his wife have a baby, and she is 1, or I think they're 9 months apart, the two, maybe something like that. Or like 10 months. They're quite close. And so I met Poppy, my other niece, and she is, oh my goodness, she is exactly like my cousin, exactly like Jason, just up and running and going everywhere and just a million miles an hour. My cousin Jason is incredible. He is very accomplished and very self-made. Like he's made himself, driven himself into this incredible person. And I can very much see that his daughter would be the same, and that she would just be a go-getter. She would just be active. Sarah, the wife, was saying, she was like, I was thinking like, oh, good, a girl, she'll be nice and calm and relaxed. And I'm like, nope, not in this family. This girl is up and at 'em. And so, yeah, she was so beautiful. But again, friendly and loving, and I met her, I got to spend 2 times with her, and lots of cuddles and kisses and just and this is like, I very much believe I don't want to push myself onto children because that's creepy and weird, especially a child I've never met before who is almost 2, 18 months old. So for me, it was like, I'm happy to play with her, but I'm not going to be like, give auntie kisses or come cuddle auntie like that. I don't really believe in that. I very much believe that even at that age, they have their own mind and they know what they want. And if they wish to give contact and, give me a cuddle, then that's their choice. But I'm not going to be like requesting it, And for her to get up and do it, it was awesome to know that she felt safe around me. I think that was really beautiful. So I made the Petit Souffles for both of them. The yarn was acrylic. and I don't like knitting with acrylic. I outright will claim that I'm a yarn snob. I'm quite happy to claim this now. I've struggled with it for a while, and joked about it a lot, and just thought, like, whatever. Like, I don't care what you knit with, but for me, I know I don't really like acrylic. I don't like the feeling of it in my hands. I don't want to do it. And if this is something that I'm going to enjoy doing, why would I knit with something I don't enjoy? Makes sense to me. So I don't think I'll be knitting with acrylic again, if I can help it, unless it's something special. I could actually see some acrylic I'm going to talk about in a minute, so that's silly of a saying, but you know what I mean. Like, I just don't enjoy it. The little one for Poppy, was like a pink colour, and that was fine. It didn't seem to have any issues. But the bigger one for Willow, it was squeaky. Like, actively knitting on it, it would be like, it would squeak, and it felt like I was knitting with a pile of mice. Like, it was gross. And even Cornelia was like, wow, I can hear it. And I'm like, yeah, it's gross. So the ruffle, I've heard a lot of people say about the Petit Souffle, that they like it or they don't like it for the ruffle. I personally really enjoyed it. I thought it was a lot of fun. But it nearly killed me with that stupid squeaky yarn. So I don't think I made any modifications really to the Petit Souffle. I cast on Poppy's first, and that was my first read through of the pattern. So I don't think that, because it says, go to an inch, then an inch, then an inch, like for different things. I don't think my inches were quite an inch. I think they're a little bit more subjective, which they're not meant to be. So I definitely noticed that the yoke depth between like cast on and ruffle was different between hers and Willow's. But I'm sure it'll be fine. And then I didn't do full arms because they live in Brisbane, which is warm most of the time. And so I only did like kind of t-shirt length arms for them. What else? I think that was it. I didn't really change much. The folded hem at the bottom, I think because the acrylic yarn, it was actually quite stiff. It was a very round yarn, so it was very stiff to work with. It kept it flipped, so Nat really liked the look, and it does look cool, but I didn't like it because it's not what it's meant to look like. It's got an applied I-cord. That was all fine. Yeah, it was a really, really fun knit. Really fun project to work on, and had a lot of impact. That ruffle is so adorable. And both mums were thrilled when I gave it to them. Or at least they told me that they were. So even if they're not, they told me that they were, and that's what I count on. So that was fun. And then, I didn't really get to spend enough time with my family, which, I mean, you never do. And I feel like I missed out because I didn't get to spend enough time with them. It was only a few days, and I knew that going over, and one day less after I missed my flight. But yeah, I miss them, and I would love to go over and see them again. I also had another knitting meet-up or catch-up, and this time with the Queensland people. So we had, I was in Coomera, which I believe is Sunny Coast side, I believe. And then 40 minutes into Brisbane. And then, about 40 minutes into Brisbane. And then I went further north. And some of the other Australian makers came south. So some of them live up near like Noosa, kind of Gympie area. I'm not great on the directions, but I know that that's roughly where they were. So I had Maddie of Mad About You. I had Jess from Jess Knits and Sews. And I had Sarah from Sarah Taylor Made. They were 3 different podcasters, which are 3 podcasters, and they all came down to meet with me. And then Susan from Ash and Eve Designs, who is a beautiful dyer. She also came down, and I am buying a lovely, lovely set off her, which I'll talk about in a bit. This is going to be a long episode today. I'm sorry about that. Yeah, so we had a beautiful lunch, and it was very much like, even though we'd never met in person properly, it was like there was just no getting to know you, because we've been talking on Zoom for so long, and we've known each other in group chat and stuff for so long, that it was just really natural and really instinctive. So we just basically just went straight to like girl friendship, oversharing, like the kind of friendship that you've had for, you know, it's taken you years to build this up. Like, it was awesome. And I really loved it. It was just instant connection. So that was absolutely wonderful. And honestly, like, if I was to move away from Perth, I probably would move up to Brisbane. The traffic is a bit of an issue. And driving around, I was like, where is everything going? But apart from that, and tolls. Why do you have to pay to go a bridge? Like, that was annoying. That's why I pay taxes. Why do I have to pay tolls as well? But apart from that, it was pretty great. And I definitely, I just loved it. I had such a great time. The last thing that I started knitting while I was over there was a beanie for my cousin. So I took over this. It's getting a bit ratty. I took over this one and another one, thinking that it was all purples and pinks, thinking that I would do one each for Sarah and Nat, but I didn't, so that's okay. But it was Nat's birthday on the 8th of July, so I asked her to pick one, and she picked the purple one, and I said, right, I'm making a beanie. So I pretty much immediately cast on. Now I'm going to have to grab my phone because I don't remember what the name of it is. So I cast on the Leni, Leni, by Isabel Kramer. This is a beanie pattern. I didn't feel like making something up. I just honestly felt like just using... That was dumb. Let me charge this so I don't have to keep throwing it around. Got the heater on next to me because it's so cold. You can tell I've been in Brisbane. I'm like, give me more warmth. So where's my other? Here we go. So this is the ball, or the rest of the cake that was left. This is the darker purple. This is like a beigey taupey kind of colour. It went from a light to a bit darker. Then it went into this. Then it went into this, and then this. My niece Poppy also really helped by destroying the ball. But she was, you know, having a lot of fun, so I didn't really want to stop her. And it's acrylic, so what's the worst you're gonna do? So I cast on Leni by Isabel Kramer, and where is it? Here it is. This is the finished object. So it was meant to be a provisional cast on, and then you knit all the way up, and then like a folded brim. But I just did a long tail cast on and then knit it together. So as I went around, I just picked up the cast on from the bottom and the top, and the bottom and the top, and just kept knitting them together, or purling them together. And I did that, and I don't see it as a bad thing. It is a little bit cupcakey, where the top of it is a bit buffier than the bottom, but I like a fitted brim, so that doesn't bother me. And I'm sure Nat won't care. I love the gold that goes through this yarn. It's really fun. So I originally cast it on. I originally started, and so I looked for like I think the band, what does it say that it is? It says needle size 5mm. No. So I cast on, and I was using 5mm needles. And I cast on the middle size for a 19.5 diameter head. And it was so floppy and so big. Like, it was like, blah, it was huge. And I was like, no, there is no way anyone is reasonably going to be able to wear this and enjoy it. So I ripped it out and then started it again. So I didn't end up finishing this in time to give to her, but that's okay. So I did the ribbing in the car, I think, on the way to the airport. So this is it, like, pulled down. It's a nice slouchy kind of style. I really like it. And I took out, it was meant to be 96 and I ended up doing it at 88. So 88? Yeah. Or 80. I think it was 80. I can't remember. One of the two. Just to make sure that it would actually fit for the head. The pattern is in repeats of 8, so I just took out 1 of the 2 repeats and it was fine. The pattern itself is really hard to see in this yarn, and I did know that making it, but it was better than just a boring texture, like boring stockinette, and I do like a bit of texture. So you've got garter in here, and then these kind of like picked up yarn in front stitches, and then little bobbles on the top as well. So I just think it adds a little bit of interest and intrigue. And then I started decreasing. I cut the purple and went into the pink because I did want some of the pink to be in here. And something else happened with the decreasing. It's just a K2 together, simple decrease. But I think I mathed it wrong somehow. I think I did it at 11. I had some bits missing or something. So, I basically just, kind of just fumbled the decreases because by that point, I think I was doing the decreases as the plane was taking off, back to Perth. And that was another ordeal in itself. So I just kind of was just like, whatever, I'm just going to do it and it'll be done and be happy. I sent Nat a picture and was like, would you like a pom-pom? And she said yes. So I'm going to use a pom-pom out of these 3 because they are the 3 colours that go in here. But I want it to be very pink heavy. So that'll be like really at the top. Like that. Yeah, so I love it. This is the Leni by Isabel Kramer. It was a free pattern on Ravelry and I would definitely knit it again, but in like plain yarn that you can see the pattern in. Although even in her pattern pictures, she used like a slightly variegated one and it was, again, hard to see. So maybe it's just cool texture. It's fine. This is nice and warm. Might actually leave it on. So that was... Yes, that was that. Then the flight got interesting. So my flight got cancelled. And instead of getting home at 9:55, I arrived home at 11:55. And it wasn't great. I did have a beautiful friend who had agreed to come pick me up originally, but because the time difference and for her to get home, because she's actually quite a bit away from me, she wouldn't have been able to make it. So I messaged a few friends and was like, hey, my flight's been delayed. Would you be able to come pick me up? And then I had to get on the plane. So obviously no reception. And I get back to Perth and no messages. So I was like, right, what do I do? Mum is currently up in Broome. So it's not like I could reach out to her and get a lift. To be honest, I'm pretty sure my dad would have been like, well, just start walking now, and by the time I come get you, you'll be halfway. So that wouldn't have been very helpful. And so I went to Uber, got cancelled on twice. Went to Ola, got cancelled on twice. Went to taxis and got cancelled on twice. So by the 6th time that I had no way of getting home, I live 10 kilometres away from the airport. And I just kind of got a bit tired. It was 1 a.m. in the morning. I clearly don't make good decisions when things don't go right. So yeah, it was 1 a.m. in the morning and I walked home. So I got home at 3 a.m. I don't recommend. My legs still hurt. And it was mostly flat, thank goodness. And it was like pedestrian walkways but along main roads. So it was well lit, but safe. So I was fine. I wouldn't recommend it for other people, but I was fine. Yeah, so that was not what I would recommend for anyone to do. But I got home. So by the time I got home, it was 3 something in the morning. I was exhausted and I just dumped all my stuff and just went straight to bed. I was shivering. I was so cold. And I feel like I haven't quite warmed up since that walk home. Something about the walk just like chilled me a bit. And I think that's where the cough has come back from. So that's not so good. But yeah, so that was my adventure home. And then once I got home, I'd taken with me my Advent cardigan, my "You Shall Not Be Afraid of Short cardigan, and I managed to mostly finish off the sleeve. And this is, when I say mostly, it's a bit contentious. I don't really know what to do about this, so I'll show you. I'll take this one off. So this is the cardigan. This is the one where I started knitting the sleeve inside out because I don't know what I was doing. Do I have the needles? Oh, they should be somewhere. Here. So I knit this sleeve with magic loop, and it's very tight. It's my normal gauge. The whole cardigan is just knit with 5mm needles. I didn't want to change it. I've just left it at 5 mils. And I feel as though this is a bit tight, this sleeve. And yeah. So it's fine. It's all good, but it does feel a little bit tight when I put it on. I was using my 5 mils for something else. I think maybe the oh, that's right. I'd taken the tips off and I was using the cable for my bomber.com jacket. And so I didn't have spare 5mm needles. So I just chucked it on this one. So these are Knit Picks shorties. And these are 5mm on their cable, the smallest cable I could find. And I just started knitting away. And once I figured out on the right side, not the wrong side. And so I knit this sleeve. Now, I have not very much yarn left over at all. This is the amount of yarn I've got left over from the cast off edge, the bind off. So probably enough to go maybe 2 more rounds. That's it. So I've just done a loose bind off here without doing the ribbing, because I don't know if I'm going to do the ribbing or not. After I found out that I did it wrong, in my other episode, I ripped it all back, and then using these ones, I cast on again and on the correct side and just started knitting my way down. Now these are, I would say it's the same circumference as the sleeve. So normally you're meant to go with smaller cable than the sleeve, or than your knitting, for knitting in the round. And this is the same. So it is looser. So if I show you the 2 sleeves, like one up against each other, the actual stitch, or the row gauge is fine. It doesn't seem to have shifted it at all. But you can see here, there's almost like a finger's width, and these are both the same count. There's a finger's width difference on the second one that I knit with these little needles than the original that I did with Magic Loop. So I've used up all, except for the tiny little bit that I just showed you, I've used up basically all of the yarn. And one of them has a ribbing detail and one of them has just a bracelet length cuff. I'll put it on and I'll show you what it looks like. I am very, very, very happy with it. I absolutely love it. So you can even see this one is the non-cuff edge, like the non-ribbing, and it's super easy to pull up. This one takes a bit more finagling, and I feel like I've got to really adjust it up, which is, I don't know if I like that. So I feel like this side is a lot more effort to put on than this side. I can't really get up and show you too much. Make sure everything is up. The slides are quite long. I'm going to add on the I-cord bind off. I love it. I will show you properly when this is actually finished. So the next thing, if the sleeves are perfect, the next thing I would be doing is taking out the provisional cast on this edge, doing the I-cord bind off on this edge, picking up all the stitches along and doing a all the way down to here, and doing a shawl collar with ribbing using this. So this is the same as the I-cord cast off, and I just find it ties everything in. It's by the same dyer of Hellhounds, Pliers and Hellhounds. She was once upon a corgi. So I find it's the same colour. It's not the same base, but it's the same colour palette, which I love. But I don't know what to do, because my options are, do I rip out this sleeve and knit it again with the needles that are easier to put on? Do I... Realistically, they're both up to where the ribbing would start. My arms go weird, I'm sorry. They're up to where the ribbing would start. So do I just do half the ribbing? Do I take off the ribbing and finish the ribbing in this colour so it ties in, even though I don't really want that? I don't know what to do. Do I leave it as a bracelet length? Because I actually don't mind it as a bracelet length. I feel like that's actually really fine, because there's going to be so much other detail everywhere else. I don't think it needs to be extra fitted on my sleeve. So maybe I could just get rid of the ribbing. And then it'd be a lot less extra work, because at the moment I'm quite work averse. I don't know. So, yeah, that's where I'm at. I think I might just take it back to the ribbing for now. They look different, but they're actually the same. Maybe it's the light. I think it might be the light. I might just take off the ribbing for now, put it in a safe place, and then bind off loosely again there and leave it as a bracelet length. And then I've got a little bit left over if I want to add on the ribbing again, because I really don't mind that. And I feel like that might be easier. I might do that. I think so. Okay. So, this is what I was working on, and I'm so happy with it. I also took it over to my friend's house, and I've been working on it. Every time I go to her house, I was always working on this. So I took it over recently, and she was like, "You've done so much," and I was like, "Yes." So it's so nice that, like, when non-knitting people see your stuff and they, like, comment on it, and you're like, "Yeah." So yeah, I really love this. It is so cozy and beautiful and really easy to make and mindless and meditative. I've really enjoyed it, except for the sleeves. But the actual cardigan of it has been amazing. I do need to, actually, I'm going to publicly ask, oh God. Well, that was an unsatisfying sneeze. I'm going to publicly ask Maddie of Mad About You, or anyone else. I know Maddie was talking about phrase stop, as a way, what is even, I don't know what's going on, as a way to, tighten up the ends, or like stop the little bits where you've woven in ends, like this little bit, you know, those little ones. Because I've tried to do the weave and Steven, and I just don't think I did it right. So has anyone got like a phrase stop? Would they recommend it? Is it worth it? Is it, yeah, like, is it, does it do what it's meant to do? Especially as I do want to wear this as a garment. So I don't just want it to be like something ornamental. I want it to actually be worn, but I need to be able to have these not poking through. So does phrase stop work, or should I look at something else just because these ends are not staying put when I weave them in? Thank you for listening to my rant about sleeves. So now I figured out what to do. And check in next week, or next time, hopefully this is done. I have some acquisitions to show you that I got when I went to the Yarn Bowl in Brisbane. And then I also have some more that came when I came home. I'm going to start with the acquisitions that I got at the Yarn Bowl. If you don't like acquisitions, that's totally fine. I understand. It was lovely to talk your ear off about my travels and my misadventures because I can't plan. And I hope you enjoyed. If you do like acquisitions, stick around. I've got lots to show you. Lots. So I went to the Yarn Bowl and I walked in, and I've put up some pictures on Instagram because it was beautiful. And the lady, I don't know her name, the lady who owns it, I believe, was there, and she gave me like a little tour. So when you walk in, they have they've got their dyer of the month, and this time it was Knit or Dye Oz, who is really cool because she did the advent that I'm going to do the mitered square jacket in. I need to continue knitting on that. I've been really wanting, like really craving to knit on that. Anyway, so she did, she was featured as dyer of the month. So she had this beautiful section at the front of the store. And then as you kept going, as you keep going through, it kind of changed what was there and what was around and the yarn types and stuff. So it was really cool. She gave me a quick tour. And she said, at one point, she goes, this is where you get, like, the cottons, the linens, this, and then she said, the eucalyptus. And I was like, eucalyptus, you say? That sounds like a yarn that I need to be knitting with. So, for some reason, this one doesn't like me. 1, 2, 3, 4. So, Susan said that this is tencel. I don't know if eucalyptus fibre and tencel is the same, if it's different, but it's beautiful. Look at that sheen. Look at, like, just... It is next to skin soft. Like, TMI, but I could wear underwear out of this and be happy. Like, it's beautiful. This is... I got 4 skeins in the colourway Dahlia, or EC05. To be specific. These are 100 grams, 165 meters, and I don't really know what to make with them, but I do want to make a summer top. So that is, yeah, I was thinking about with these ones, I'm thinking I'm going to design like a little summer top. There's probably enough in it to even do 2 tops, which could be amazing if I did like a cropped kind of style. So I don't know what I'm going to do, but I'm excited to do it. They're just so beautiful, and I'm so excited. So these were my first ones. She came around with a basket. She's like, would you like to put things in a basket? And I was like, nope, these are going straight onto the counter. These are coming home with me because I know I need them. So these are the first 4. I'm just going to, there we go. Then I was wandering around a lot. I saw this one, and this is Gleam Lace Luxury Fiber Spates Yarns. So fiberspates.com, Fiberspates Yarns looks like the main thing, and then Gleam Lace is the type of lace. It is the most beautiful tonal green. Like, oh. It matches my nails, my very snapped off and broken nails. It is so beautiful. And I've been really inspired by Jane of Mindful Making, who recently designed a lace weight top. And it's stunning. And so I'm thinking maybe I want to design a lace weight top. And so I bought this one, and then I saw this one, So this one is 733 Everglade. And this one is 720 Peach Bellini, which love good cocktail. And they are both 55% superwash Blueface Leicester wool, 45% silk, 800 meters per 100 grams, hand wash only. So the two of these, I couldn't walk away. I just kept looking at them. And I keep just squeezing them and squishing them because they're so gorgeous. So these are definitely going to need to become a thing for me. I am thinking a lace top in these. I don't know what to do, but I need to. Even if I was like knit like a ranunculus, I don't really want to knit a ranunculus, but it feels like this would be good yarn for it. You know, yeah, beautiful. So these are two that I immediately grabbed. And then I kept walking around and grabbing more. So I saw this one from Knit or Dye Oz. This is called Peaches and Cream. Peaches and Cream Gravelia. It is a fingering sock yarn, 75% superwash merino, 25% nylon, 100 grams, about 390 meters. And this, again, it's just this really subtle, gentle colouring. And it's just so beautiful. I do have... Oh, I don't know where I've put them. I don't know. Maybe they're up there? They are up there. Okay. Listen to me as I think things through. Where are they? Come on. Oopsies. So I got massive FOMO from last year's Stephen West Cowl, the shawl. I really wanted to. I didn't want at first to knit it, and then I saw everyone else doing it, and I was like, oh yeah, I do. I really do. So I bought. This is Safi, and which is like this mustard saffron color, and this one is deep olive. They are both fingering weight. Yep, both fingering weight by Three Cats Yarn, who was Down Under Dye, now she's Three Cats Yarn. And then I also bought this one, which is also a fingering weight called Nymeria. And I was thinking of doing these ones in a shawl, in a Stephen West mystery shawl. And I really wanted it to be Australian only dyers. They're a bit worse for wear because I am not always the most gentle with my things, but that's okay. So when I was buying this one, I was thinking I would like it to at least be able to go with these two. I don't necessarily have to do Nymeria in the grouping, but definitely these two. And I think after just pulling it out just then, and you watched me do it and knocking everything over, I do think these are actually going to go really nicely together. So this is the start of my Stephen West Cowl shawl. I'm going to have to find two more colours to go with it. But I really like these colours. So this is by Knit or Dye Oz, who was the featured dyer of the Yarn Bowl. And that, so sorry, I just swung my bag, hit everything. Then I got two more. This one is called Pink Salt Lakes. It is by Townhouse Yarns, who is brand new to me. I've never heard of them before. It's hand dyed in Ireland. It's a 70% superwash merino, 30% silk, 400 meters 4-ply fingering, and 100 grams. And again, I just really love that subtle pink. And I've been to a couple of different Pink Salt Lakes. And this is definitely the appropriate color. Like it's called the right thing. Then the last one is by West Green Loft Yarns. Again, brand new to me. Hand dyed by Vicky McIntosh, but I don't know where you're hand dyed from. All of her colorways are very vintage, English tea house, Bridgerton style. Not even Bridgerton, like Jane Austen. That's the one, Jane Austen style. So this colorway is called Emma. It is the WGLY cashmere sock. It is 100 grams and 300 meters. I'm guessing because it's a sock, it's got nylon and merino, but I can't see anywhere where it would tell me that, so I don't know. But look at that color. Even this one would go perfectly with these. That would be really cool. Oh, I think I'm doing it. To find maybe like a light mustard, maybe, or something else like a peach. I don't know. All right, well that's my 4. Normally they're 5 colors, so I've got 4. Because I don't think Nymeria is really the right color. Oh, I mean, it could go. That's a backup. I think it's a backup. So I'm really glad, because when I bought them, I did not know what to make with them. But I just knew I had to have them. So even pink salt, it dulls it a little bit. I just don't know. No, I don't think this one. Definitely these 4. All right. So these were, let's put this one back. These were my acquisitions from the Yarn Bowl. And as well with the Tencel, I definitely have a colour theme going on, but I don't know what the colour theme is. I just know that I like these colours. These are my acquisitions from Brisbane. And then I got home and I have 2 boxes to open. So let's go a bit quicker, because I've been talking to you guys for an hour and a half. Actually more, because I kept having to do takes. Because, I don't know, I haven't podcasted in a couple of days, and you can tell. Days, weeks, you know. So, you can tell I am opening it for the first time. I've never seen this before, so you will see it with me. Me and Knit Crate don't always understand each other, but let's see what I get. Ooh, that looks alright. So this is the Homestead. Round the bend and over the little bridge, you'll find a pastoral landscape ready to welcome you home with a bit of rustic flair and a lot of warmth. So there are 4 different colorways. There is Shabby Chic, Cucumber, which I think I've got, Old Barn, and Feathers. That's not too bad. Oh, that is shining on there. So let's have a look. Yeah, definitely Cucumber. So this is Urian Asher, 34% cotton, 35% linen, 19% lyocell, 11% nylon in a sport weight. 320 meters over 100 grams. Custom made in Peru exclusively for Knit Crate. I don't mind these ones, actually. I know you're going to think I don't like them. I don't mind these ones. I am liking green. I don't know if I like the soft yellow green on me. I feel like it makes me look really orange, even though I'm not. But I don't mind it. I don't think I'll keep it, but I don't mind it as an idea. This is why Knit Crate will never sponsor me. Never. I'm like, yeah, I won't like it. I won't keep it. And then we've got some little extras that come in. And we've got, ooh, yum. Okay. So vanilla pour over coffee. It's like a Vietnamese coffee. So you've got tear, open filter, gently hang, pour hot water, add creamer to taste. So it tells you the instructions. And this is milk and sugar creamer. Does it say what's in it? Ingredients, milk and sugar. Interesting. Well, I might make this as I'm editing because I need a coffee. So this will actually be really helpful. Thank you, Knit Crate. So this is my Knit Crate order. I keep thinking I'm going to cancel my Knit Crate, and I never seem to, which is a bit silly. Then this is another Instagram impulse buy, which I have no shame in buying because it looks so beautiful. So this is by Loom, and they in Somerset in the UK, and they do like little mini skeins, subscriptions, that's the word, subscription boxes for mini skeins, and I can't resist things, and so I decided to buy a subscription pack. So again, you will see it as I do. Alright, so we've got 3 chamomile tea, a soothing floral infusion of African, Egyptian, and European chamomile. I didn't even know you had the different kinds. That's pretty cool. And then Loom is the brand, the company. And then these are the different minis. So this is the mini skein club of June 2022. Oh, aren't they just so pretty? Does it tell me what they are? So it says type simple sock mini set, 75% superwash merino, 25% nylon, and it is 20 grams of 85 meters. So these are so beautiful. No idea what I'm going to make with them, but very glad I have them. As with most of my stuff. Yeah. I've also been thinking, so this is right at the end. It's been an hour and a half, and you're probably tired of listening to my sniffles and my talking. Thank you so much for staying with me. I do hope you enjoy, even though I laugh at myself all the time. So I was doing this thing, I am doing this thing, which is about wattle and wool, like along, for 2022. And I've totally just realised that I'm halfway through June and halfway through July, and I forgot to put up July's one. So this is a reiteration that there are going to be a prize at the end of the year for following the along. I will put up all of the months, the bare months. It's like a bingo sheet. I will put up all the bare ones along with June's one today on my Instagram at wattleand.wool. And you can see on mine, I don't complete every single one. The aim is not to complete every single one. It's just to be intentional and mindful with your knitting and to do it as a way to connect and enjoy. There's random challenges, random dates. Like I think it was like donut day, stuff like that. So eat a donut. I know March 28th is my mum's birthday, and it is Black Forest Day, like Black Forest Cake Day. So things like that. And I'm also thinking, after knitting this one and loving the Advent, like using my Advents up with it, but I started this a year ago, or a bit more. And then I'm going to start my Knit or Die Oz Advent mitre jacket while I'm waiting for the yarn to come for my test knit. So I'm thinking I've got like a big all year round along one as well that I need to put up that I haven't for a while. And I'm thinking, yeah, to make sure that everyone is included, doing like a mini for the second half of the year, like from August or something, because it's kind of second half now, doing like a mini along. So you have to use minis basically, because that's what Advents are. And also it gets you ready for the Advents that are going to come at the end of the year. And I have, wow, have I got a lot. Vlogmas this year is going to be me opening like 12 Advents. Probably not that much, but it feels like it. I have got a lot coming. So I need to get rid of some stuff so I can make some space for my Advent. So if anyone wants to join me in a whatever you want mini along, or you just use your minis, let me know. Because I think I need to. And also I'd love to design some more stuff using minis. So if you have like a set of minis and you're like, hey, I would love to use this in blah, 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 but I don't know how to, tell me what you would like to use them in and I will have a look at trying to make something up for them, because I think that would also be really fun. Okay, I think that's enough for today. Thank you so much. Thank you to the knitting community for being my friends, because you are so valued and I am so rich because of you guys. Rich in my life. So thank you so much. Like I said, I hope you enjoy. Please like and subscribe if you do. And I will be in your ears, on your screens in about 2 more weeks. Okay, bye.